The king and his wet thing, they sizzling, nothing but my children.
The Constitution and the rule of law will be primarily made up of judges overruling the will of the people and legislating from the bench. Kelsey Pritchard is Political Communications Director for Women Speak Out PAC, a partner of Susan B. Anthony Pro-Life America.
We are supporting Wisconsin Supreme Court candidate Brad Schimmel. We have deployed canvassers that are speaking with voters at their doorsteps about showing up on April 1st to vote for Schimmel, and this election will determine the balance of the Wisconsin Supreme Court.
And Pritchard says besides affecting whether unborn babies will be protected, there are other issues that can affect the entire nation.
This is absolutely a very important election nationally because of issues of election integrity, also because of the Democrats have been clear that they want a liberal court to gerrymander, to secure new electoral maps, to give them a majority in Congress. And so this is very important that people show up to vote for a court that respects the Constitution and the rule of law.
Pritchard says Schimmel's radical opponent is Susan Crawford, who represented Planned Parenthood in court and would legislate from the bench. I'm Chad Groening.
More news online at afn.net and on the AFN mobile app. I'm Russell Peay.
If your church or 501c3 organization has announcements to share, please visit afr.net/PSA and follow the instructions there. We must receive your PSA request form at least 2 weeks in advance of your event. And the more complete your information, the better we can make your announcement. Why would we do this? Because our listeners are important to us and we want to help. So let us know how at afr.net/PSA. Thanks.
God has really blessed me. He let me work in D.C., let me work with EIB in Hollywood, Silicon Valley, and He's shown me through all those experiences that there is one problem and one solution, and that's why we do this show.
Welcome to A Disciple's View with Todd Herman.
When the God of the universe created the worlds, He didn't snap His fingers or wink His eye. The Lord spoke. He said, "Let there be light." Because we believe, we speak about the happenings in this world, mindful that our true home is with Jesus Christ and His kingdom. I'm Todd Herman. Welcome to A Disciple's View. I've been playing around with an idea. And it's something born from having been a kid who was latchkey. My mom had to go back to work after my dad made the unfortunate decision to leave the family. They did a good job as a divorced couple, but it was never the same. So I spent some time in front of the TV. And do you remember the commercials for Easy Bake Ovens? Anyone remember that? There were these little miniature ovens, and it was aimed at girls, targeted girls. I think mostly girls used it. Boys did, but they never told anybody. And he baked supposedly pies or cakes. Remember that? Of course, it was, kind of plastic. It wasn't food. But it was super easy. You just poured stuff into a vat, a mold, and put water, and boom, cake. The Democrats have, and Republicans can fall victim to this, but Democrats have populated and nurtured a base of people who fall victim to easy bake hate. And this is relatable to the new thing that it seems that Democrats are so willing to fall for the new thing. For instance, when the globalists announced that Ukraine is the most important country in the world and that it's always been the most important country in the world, when the Democrats went from complaining about the Nazi problem in Ukraine, because the New York Times wrote a long piece about the Nazi problem in Ukraine, when they stopped talking about it as a deeply corrupt nation, all of a sudden it was a paragon of democracy because now they care about this, they care about national sovereignty and borders, and it happened on a dime. Why? I think the Democrats have become experts at tapping sin and marketing to sin. I wouldn't be surprised to learn the Democrats took a hint from Mark Zuckerberg and others in social media and technology who started hiring neurologists, and psychologists and brain experts to figure out how to make sure that their products tap dopamine centers, pleasure centers. And there's a specific rhythm to this. For instance, in video gaming, there are neurologists and brain scientists who help the game companies figure out the right amount of reward versus loss. Because there's a balance in playing a game. If you get into a game and you're just losing all the time, you don't get any pleasure center. So they started by changing the games, that there weren't just one game. There's now a beginner level, second level, third, fourth, fifth, up to expert. And again, that's so you can play the game again and again. And when they put in-game purchases, and you can purchase bigger weapons, etc., that's all part of this script. And they did this with Facebook. In technology, they invented this thing called the infinite scroll. Do you remember back in the day, you get to the end of a website? There's no more ends of websites. Right? Websites never end. You just keep scrolling. So this was all a result of brain science. It wouldn't surprise me to learn that the Democrats have neurologists working for them. Now, I know, because I worked in the field, I know that they know they're tapping emotions. I know that they do polling to get opinion, but they also, I sold a big data company, and we had a very unique license to some high-end tech and high-end polling, and we had a unique license to combine these things. So we had the unique ability to look at someone's opinion and then determine which emotions had driven those opinions so that we could go back and change the emotions, which sadly changes people's opinions. Witness Elon Musk. Elon Musk once spent 6 hours waiting in line to meet Barack Obama. He helped Obama during his presidency. This is long forgotten, but he did. There was a time when Elon Musk was legitimately referred to, and may God forgive the people who did this, they used to refer to Elon Musk as the new, and Lord forgive me, the new Jesus Christ.
I would argue that the new Jesus Christ of our era are Steve Jobs and Elon Musk, and it's important to have heroes.
The 47-year-old engineer has been called the real-life Tony Stark, better known as Iron Man.
Elon Musk, aka real-life Iron Man.
The guy is brilliant.
He is a genius, and at least for now, the world is better off having Elon Musk in it than not.
Elon Musk is one of the most interesting people in America. He's in the world, and I guess in the universe.
Elon Musk is doing things that may revolutionize transportation and climate change.
He still is. If you believe that electric cars are a net positive for the environment, he's doing it at a level no one else has ever done it. If you believe that helping get poor people access to the internet is important, because of course the figurehead pointed some $60 billion to do that and has never connected anyone to the internet but made a lot of people rich, Elon Musk is doing that. Still. Right now. But easy bake hate. Elon Musk is now Hitler. So it wouldn't surprise me that Democrats have neurologists tapping into this, figuring out, hey, how can we drive negative emotions? And here's the game. Rage is a really difficult emotion to sustain. But Democrats are doing everything they can to create rage. And again, it's difficult to sustain. MSNBC.
And then you also overnight have this post claiming that protests at Tesla dealerships are illegal. He said today he would label violence against dealerships domestic terrorism. Now, you know I am judicious in how I play this sound, but I think you need to hear it from him.
Mr. President talks about some of the violence that's been going on around the country at dealerships. Some say they should be labeled domestic terrorists.
I will do that. I'll do it. I'm going to stop them. We catch anybody doing it because they're harming a great American company. Let me tell you, you do it to Tesla and you do it to any company, we're going to catch you and you're going to go through hell.
So just to be clear, You protest a private company, you are labeled by this administration a domestic terrorist.
Just to be clear, you're lying. It's not the protests. It's destruction of property. It's burning down electric charging stations. It's occupying a business. It's seizing its property even for a little while. They can't work. They can't sell cars. You're trespassing. You are doing this to scare people into not buying Teslas, to affect political change. That is the actual definition of terrorism. So they're taking rage, and they understand that emotion. And in those moments of rage, they are getting people to sign up for websites like Target Tesla, and then they're going to take that rage and they're going to turn it into an emotion that is more sustainable, that lasts longer, and that is resentment. Resentment can last a long time. Super sustainable. So if you're looking at this from a perspective of brain science, you're watching people's emotions. Do they spike their rage and then go back into a normal state? No. There's a population of people who follow Democrats, and I mean this in the sincerest possible way. They become traumatized, as in post-traumatic stress, and they have normalized the rage resentment cycle. Here's a crazy thing about human psyche. You can become so normalized into psychological behaviors that it is painful to come out of those psychological behaviors, even when they are deeply negative behaviors. Think of someone with the habit of talking themselves down. Have you ever heard these people? Well, I know I'm your fat friend, but maybe we could go to the lake. I know you don't like to be seen around your fat friend. And you say to your friend, you are my friend. I don't think of you as my fat friend. And they'll continue this, and sometimes it's pity seeking. Sometimes it's pity fishing. And with friends who do this with me, I eventually tend to say, hey, you know what? I love you a lot. And when you're ready to do something about your body weight, let's talk about it. But it hurts me when you talk yourself down. It causes me pain. But there's a population of Democrats who've been, I think, manipulated to the point that they don't understand they're in this rage resentment cycle. When you build up a series of resentments, you are now tapping the sin problem. And this is how I began this segment. I believe the Democrats have become expert at tapping sin problems. Let's just go across the board. Love your neighbor. Love your enemy. Elon Musk is Hitler. So to take that jealousy, that coveting, well, Elon has what I don't have. Elon has access to the White House. I don't have access to this White House. To tap this about Elon. Elon's stealing my Social Security because Elon needs the money, because the Social Security fund is so interesting to a guy who's got $240 billion. Coveting. Reparations. Coveting. We don't need to speak of lust, but let's do. Kamala Harris. One of her closing arguments in the quixotic presidential campaign we were supposed to believe was filled with joy and organic excitement. One of her closing arguments was, I'm going to make sure that you continue to have access to Pornhub. I'm going to make it easier for you to tap the sin of lust, looking at people sexually, committing mental adultery. I believe Democrats have begun, have just mastered the act of tapping sin the way they've mastered the act of creating rage and then turning the rage into carefully crafted and nurtured resentment. You know, it's hard to start a plant, right? Because a lot of early seedlings die. But once a mighty tree is grown, say from a mustard seed, they're hard to kill. Resentment's hard to kill. Addiction to sin is hard to kill. And Democrats have gotten so good at this. God made us male and female in his image. it didn't. I choose my own image. Pride. Refusal to accept the gift God gave you. Lack of gratitude. Spirit of selfishness. So we're seeing the fruits of this in our midst. And it's this easy bake hate idea. If you're someone who's easily manipulated into hating another, what does that mean? I think it means you've got strong reservoirs of hate that's been fostered over time. You see, the enemy doesn't need us to deny God. He doesn't need us to say the unthinkable about Jesus or the Holy Spirit. He needs us to be apart from the Father. And hatred is a thing around which God does not want to operate. God is love. Hatred is dark. God is light. The more time people spend in a rage and resentment cycle, the harder it will be for them to hear God's word, God's voice. I know this. When I was in my wrestling match with God, over something I deeply, deeply loved and still do, probably always will, I couldn't read the word. And Satan would say to me, hey, why read it? You're not getting anything out of it. So praise God for deliverance. We'll come back on the Disciples View.
This is Viewpoints with Kirby Anderson.
Earlier this month, President Trump signed an executive order that establishes a strategic Bitcoin reserve. It will capitalize the Bitcoin already owned by the Department of Treasury that was taken from criminal or civil asset forfeiture proceedings. It will not sell any Bitcoin, and the Secretaries of Treasury and Commerce have been given the task of developing budget-neutral strategies for acquiring more. At the same time, the executive order also establishes a digital asset stockpile that would consist of other digital assets owned by the Department of Treasury. There are no plans to acquire any more, and likely those will be sold off. As you might imagine, there are proponents and opponents to this strategic Bitcoin reserve. Many members of Trump's cabinet are proponents of Bitcoin and have Bitcoin within their financial portfolios. The executive order reminds voters of the pledge by candidate Trump to make the U.S. the crypto capital of the world. The opponents can be divided into two groups. One group opposes a Bitcoin strategic reserve because they believe it won't work. I first discussed Bitcoin on radio in 2017, and for the last 8 years I've read and heard what is often called FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. We'll no doubt hear all those erroneous claims once again. The opponents are those who believe the strategic reserve will work and don't want to reward bad behavior. This asset, with a fixed supply of 21 million coins, will increase in value and can be used to offset our current and future national debt. The debt came from politicians who ran up massive deficits and the Federal Reserve that printed the money to fund this fiscal irresponsibility. Some people in the past feared the government might ban Bitcoin. Instead, the government will be acquiring Bitcoin. I'm Kirby Anderson, and that's my point of view.
For a free booklet on a biblical view of genetic engineering, go to viewpoints.info/genetic engineering. Viewpoints.info/genetic engineering.
If you're 65 or older, you know this. Seeing your healthcare costs go up and up is frustrating. And maybe you were just notified that your Medicare costs are increasing again, or you're just tired of the massive deductibles. Well, here's some good news. There's a program that can really help with this. It's Medi-Share 65 Plus. It's an affordable, reliable alternative. You can choose any Medicare provider. You get telehealth access anytime you need it. And Medi-Share 65 Plus is a low-cost option for those with Medicare Parts A and B, and it fills in the gaps where Medicare stops. Medi-Share is a Christian healthcare community that aligns with your faith. People actually pray for you, they encourage you, and it's proven too. It's been going strong for over 30 years now. So call now. You can get one low monthly price for up to 10 years. You're not stuck with increasing costs. You can do something about this today. Call Medi-Share 65 Plus. Find out how much you can save. Call 833-45-BIBLE. That's 833-45-BIBLE. 833-45-BIBLE.
listening to Disciples View. Appreciate you supporting AFR. And when you give monthly to AFR, you give us a great way to have predictable income and revenue, which helps us invest. And it's not me doing it, praise God. It's the Wildman family that has been given this privilege and, in fact, this job by God to steward the accounts here. And they have a great management team that cares deeply for your money. So become a donor, monthly donor at afr.net. And you can also then have access to all the shows on a streaming basis, all the archives. There are clips available of our radio programs at afr.net, and you can get that as well. But take full access of that. And if God is tapping you and saying you have more to give, well, gosh, we have share coming up, but you could do a pre-share donation. There's nothing stopping you from doing that as well, even a significant one. And thanks again for supporting us. We'll get next segment to a personal note and the Tower of Babbling. We talked last segment about my theory that Democrats have become very skilled